It's my pleasure to tell you a little bit about myself, about my company, about our early journey with Tableau, how we got started, a little bit about what we're doing, and then I'm going to offer up some lessons learned at the end. Because as you'll hear me say as we go through this, we didn't do everything right the first time. We stumbled quite a few times along the way, as a lot of others probably have. So we are happy to maybe help you avoid some of those same roadblocks. Okay? So, who has ever heard of Belk? Oh, that's impressive. That's awesome. I have had to explain it so many times this week. Oh, it's like Macy's. Just think Macy's, which is like the worst thing to say about a competitor. Yeah, so we'll tell you a little bit about Belk. So Belk is a department store retailer in the southeast United States. We have stores as far north as Maryland and as far west as Texas. Okay, so we have about 294 stores. I'll tell you a little bit more about Belk as we go. I guess I should introduce myself first. My name is Jeremy Poole. I'm a senior business analyst at Belk. My background at Belk has been in the business, so I spent time in the merchandising organization as an assistant buyer for women's robes and sleepwear, which was a formative experience. I'm not a product guy. I'm very much a data and analytics guy. So I spent some time in merchandising and then finance, and then I've been in our IT group for a little over 3 years now. I did not dress myself today. This is all my men's team. I took a risk and offered it up to them. I said, I'm speaking. If you guys want to dress me, it's all you. Make me be on brand because I can't do it myself. So we're gonna have some fun. I do like to keep it a little light, so I hope that is helpful for you. So we're going to talk a little bit about who Belk is, how we use data, how we're using Tableau specifically. I'm going to highlight some of our quick wins, things that we put in and had big impact, and then we'll talk a little bit about lessons learned and open it up for questions. So again, thank you guys so much for coming. This will hopefully be fun. It will be for me. Okay, so who is Belk? So Belk has a very distinguished history as a family-led, family-owned company. Founded in 1888 in Monroe, North Carolina. It's a long, rich history of family leadership. I say that because we were just recently acquired last year by private equity. So for the first time in Belk history, we are no longer led by a Belk. We had 3 generations of family leadership. So a very rich history to be very proud of. But we're now a portfolio company of Sycamore Partners out of New York. They also own Coldwater Creek, Hot Topic, Torrid, a couple other smaller retailers. So we are the home of modern Southern style. I've been told that I need to explain this because it sounds exclusionary that we say Southern. Southern is a state of mind to us. It's not a, it's not a regional limitation, right? It's not just Confederate flag shirts or things like that. It's truly stylish. There's something very classy about the Southern wardrobe that I don't know about. That's why I had my men's team dress me. So we've got 293 stores, I guess, as of time of writing, and in 16 states, and we have a very big e-com business that we've been growing for many years. So since you guys know Belk, this is helpful. I can skip the next one, but we offer up, clothes for the family. We've got home, we've got shoes, women's, kids. We've got a little bit of everything. We're also the sponsor of the annual Belk Bowl, if that helps with some of you guys who are college football fans. We put the ACC and the SEC together in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Panthers Stadium. So pretty cool. Here's a little bit about Charlotte in case you don't know about Charlotte. I did not know what kind of audience to expect. So I'm going to brag a little bit. We've got the Panthers. They were good. They suck now. We've got the Hornets, who just are who they are. I like the Knights logo. They're our AAA baseball team, so I just threw it up there too. We have Carowinds Amusement Park. We have the U.S. National Whitewater Center, which is truly awesome for those of you guys who have had a chance to go. We're also the number 15 best place to live in the U.S., so that's not half bad, right? It's not great, but it's not half bad. So it's doable. All right, so we'll get into the fun stuff now. So let's talk a little bit about how Belk uses data regularly. So we, as a merchandising business, we are very Monday morning centric. The image you'll see on this slide, that is an actual photo of our SVP of planning. It's how he looks on a Monday. He's a grumpy guy. He'll listen to this. So what do we analyze? The basics for retail, right? We're looking at sales trends. We're looking at assortments. We're looking at inventory freshness, customer segmentation, the basics, key items. What we're really into right now is we've really started to roll out Tableau. We're doing a lot more test and goes, right? The analytics and analysis process used to be a lot more rigid and hard to spin up, and honestly, it just wasn't worth doing a test if you couldn't measure it very quickly. So with Tableau, we've been able to do a lot more test and goes because we can analyze them a lot more quickly. So when do we analyze? It's pretty much Monday. 3/4 of our report requests in our legacy tool come across on Monday during the week. It's like 16,000 reports are run on a Monday morning. We have 1,600 people at corporate for scale. It's pretty ugly. We do a lot of open to buy and planning activities as we're managing our business for the future 12 months. So I got approval to use the word fire drills. That's my term because it's a little sarcastic. So we do a lot of chasing one-off scenarios from the executive team. So everybody does. So how do we analyze? We have a very legacy tool set. We've long since been a MicroStrategy customer. Had to get permission to actually say their name here. But we've used them for many years. It's very grid-based. Our users primarily use that tool as a data dump tool. Very little analysis is done within it. So basically they're exporting tall and wide grids, dumping them into Excel before anything happens, which is not ideal. So they spend hours on Monday mornings extracting data to populate all of their Excel templates, of which I'm responsible for a scary amount for my time in merchandising. It's hurtful now. So due to that, we have a lot of spread marks throughout the business where we have people who are responsible on Monday only for running 25 queries to dump them into an Excel template and run a bunch of macros. Not ideal. So I'll tell you a little bit, give you kind of an honest assessment of where we are according to TDWI on our BI maturity. We would fall very well into the early adoption phase. We've got a very well-defined and mature data warehouse structure. We've got a lot of data. We just don't use it very well, right? We're doing a lot of asking why, what, and where, or what, when, and where. We don't ask enough why, right? So we are in a lot of cases, we're satisfied to say, sales were down because the weather was bad. Is that the real answer? Don't know. Or sales were down to last year. Okay, was last year the right benchmark? Don't know. So we've got a culture that we are consistently evolving to ask a lot more why and keep going. Don't just let it be surface level analysis. Okay. Our core user base is very much a consumer-based model. They run canned reports. We've got probably, I'd say, 20% of our users run true ad hoc reporting where they're really drilling in. So this is something that I like to throw out at them all the time. This kind of goes back to my last example. It is not enough for me, if we're down in sales, to say, oh, well, the weather was bad in Virginia. That was all. I don't buy it. I need you to empirically prove that before I'm willing to accept that as an answer. So I like to throw this at people. It's kind of a quote that my old boss had hanging in his office, and I kind of have held on to it. I like people to back up their analysis. We don't really accept things at face value. Here's another one. This is something that I've really tried to push my analysts to become. There's a couple quotes in here, so it's just my thing. So this is one that I use every time I train. So I am not especially talented. I am not super technical. I'm not super artsy, so a lot of the stuff that you'll see that I've designed is not that beautiful. But I'm curious. I keep digging. I don't let it go, right? I try to get to the base, to the real root of the question. So I'll tell you a little bit about how Belk is using Tableau. So our Tableau journey started about 3 years ago. So we've had our legacy tool for 12, 15 years now, and we said, you know what, it's time to consider some new alternatives. So we brought in Tableau for a proof of concept. We brought in some other vendors, brought in Click, Spotfire as well, for a couple of quick proof of concepts in the omni-channel and store ops area. That's a big business for us right now. It's a big business for probably a lot of you who are in retail as well, is really trying to meld that experience across all your channels. So we brought them in, did a couple things for our stores who, ironically, are our most underserved customers. Our store reporting is not helpful, right? They've got the same things they've had for 20 years. We need to improve on that desperately. So that was kind of the catalyst for this. We said, we're going to make the stores more powerful in what they can analyze during the day and stay on the selling floor rather than have to go to a backroom computer or go use a dot matrix printer to print out 30 pages to then spend the morning reading. So we took that opportunity, brought Tableau in for a proof of concept, delivered a dashboard to the store managers. It was very 101 level. It's not a game changer, but it was a step in the right direction. So that opened the door. Okay, so our plan was we were going to roll Tableau out to the entire store ops and omni-channel space. This is about 100 people. Went ahead and bought server, got ready to go. It's going to be awesome. Well, when you work for a family-owned company who is also family-led, and the CEO who has his name on the side of the building hears of something and likes it, sometimes your plans change. So he decided that instead of going after that one space and being pretty targeted about it, we were going to go after the whole company and just replace the existing tool completely in a year. And that's pretty tough. We have like 40,000 reports in our MicroStrategy environment. So that's a pretty big swing that we were going to take. So his name's on the side of the building, so that became our focus. So we went after merchandising and planning. We kind of whittled it down and said, what are your core reports? Like, what are the things that every office uses to run their business? We'll start there. We'll directly convert those and kind of give you a bridge to the new system. So we converted their 389 core reports that have over 30,000 derivatives in the environment, meaning just a filter or two different or just a metric or two different. And we whittled that down into 16 workbooks for them, which is a lot cleaner, right? That's a decent improvement, I think. Worked out really well. There's so much duplication in what the individual teams do. So it was a great opportunity. And through that and some other things we did with structuring the refreshes, we were able to improve their Monday morning process significantly. You remember I mentioned that we run about 16,000 reports on a Monday morning. So a lot of times that would trickle into the 12 o'clock hour on a Monday before everybody's done running reports, before they can start analyzing. So when we spun up server and we got all the data ready and the extract schedule ready, we said, we're going to fix that. We're going to make sure that people can get their data fast. So now they have pretty decent analysis in place by 9 a.m. And that's a big improvement. That's a lot of time savings for all of our merchants. Another way we went about it is when we started, I'll show you this tool later. We built a size pack optimization tool. It's more of an application, right? So it's more of an operational tool than an analytical. But that's another way that you can use Tableau. I don't know if you guys are doing a lot of that, where you're really going after the operational function. So we essentially built them an app. It's not pretty, so don't get your hopes up. And then we still managed to go after store ops and supply chain. Demand generation across all of our channels is still a really big deal. So how are we using Tableau? I'll tell you a little bit about our environment. So we bought 50 desktop licenses, and they're spread across the business. The rest of our users are primarily web-based users. We've got about 500 active right now. We'll cap at about 1,600 when we are fully rolled out at corporate, and then that'll extend down to the stores, which has a top end of about 16,000, which will be fun. It'll be fun to manage. But we are primarily an IT-centric organization. We use IT as a shared service for all report development. Tableau has drastically changed that model. It's just not sustainable with all the great questions that start coming in when people can see their data differently. So Tableau server, we own it. We are still running version 9.0. So is anybody commiserating with me there? Oh, thank you. Yeah. That's what happens when you're IT-centric. It's slow to upgrade. So we have designated projects on our production server. We've kind of structured it where IT owns the server. We own all of the main projects we publish to. So we've got subject area specific. We've probably got about 20 projects that we publish to, different content. And then the users, they have web authoring capabilities where they can edit and save to user-owned projects. So IT has our space, the users have their space, everything in IT is fully certified. Goodness, Tableau is kind of stealing my thunder on this guy. certifying all the content now. But everything in our folders is certified by IT. Everything in the merchant folders, if there's a problem and they screwed something up, that's on them. They've got to explain it, right? We gave them the data. The data is good. If they applied some filters that are causing issues, that's where we work with them. So we're using a variety of data sources. We're using some Oracle. We use Teradata as our primary data warehouse. We're also using some cubes, which it's not best practice, but it works, right? It makes some sense in some spaces. One really cool thing, and I told my architect I'd do this. Christian, are you here? I don't see Christian. One of our old contractors told us a long time ago that we could not build our own enterprise source control. So I have an architect who, when you tell him he's not going to be able to do something, he does it. So he did. So we have pretty much a commandment that if I present something that's ready for production, we have to have it checked into our code repository and automate that publish. Because my architect does not trust me to publish only the version that he has approved to production. He should, but he doesn't. He just doesn't trust anyone. It's not personal. So you should see him. He'll enjoy this. He's the one who gives me so much crap about nobody showing up. So what he did is he built a tool using Python where we're checking things into our code repository and automating the publish through the environment. So we check it into development, it gets published to development. When QA certifies it, they publish it up to pre-prod, and we migrate it to production. It all happens without us having to manually publish to each project. It's actually pretty slick. It's really simple to do. I could probably do it, but it's really cool. So we also put in place a task force and a BI user group. That's kind of been the transformative step here for us. It's really getting people talking about data and how they're using data differently in their different offices. So we put together a cross-functional task force. I mentioned to you guys that we're running this primarily through the IT shop initially, as IT being the main developers and mainly me. So if we have requests coming in from all the different areas of the organization, somebody has to pick which ones get done first. So we brought them all to the table, and we let them fight it out about who's are more important. And then we've spun up this business user group where we do a lot of training. We get the best minds in the company together and just really start going in on how to best build out content. That's the step that's going to drive us into more of a self-service environment where my business users are publishing the majority of the content. Like I said, we're very much in the early phases of that. We're still working on it. A lot of our merchandising group doesn't have that skill set natively, so we're working on that. Okay, so I'm going to highlight a couple of our quick wins. This is our size pack optimization tool that I mentioned to you. So the problem statement for this guy, we write orders. We do a big private brand business. My jacket today is Saddlebred. It's one of our private brands. You can all go buy it at a Belk store in the Southeast. There's my pitch. So we buy a lot of stuff private brands. The lead time on this stuff is huge, right? We're placing these orders 8 months out to ship from Asia, okay? So we switched to a new merchandising system in late 2014, and what we started seeing is our size pack tool would say the optimal size pack that you should order is a 1-1, a small and an XL. And that just doesn't make sense to send to a store, to send one small and one XL, right? So we were kind of auditing that, kind of building off of it, but the big problem was we had no visibility to it until those orders canceled a month before they were supposed to hit. And that will really shoot your business in the foot. If all of a sudden the 16,000 units of product you had ordered are not coming because they decided not to cut them. So we connected directly to the transactional database that the size pack tool writes into. So this guy doesn't perform all that great because they insist on it being live. So it's a screenshot. So what it does is every time they make an update, place a new order, it pops out the size packs that they did, or that they wrote. So you can probably not quite see the numbers, but if you're looking here on the grid down below, everywhere you see the color change, that's a size break. So the first one is a 3-4-5. It's 3 smalls, 4 mediums, and 5 larges. The next one down is a 2-3-3-4. So 2 smalls, 3 mediums, 3 larges, and 4 extra larges. So this is just a quick visual app so they can write an order, click on it, and say, here's all the combinations I wrote. Does this make sense? Did I write too many different breaks? Or are these breaks going to get canceled when they get to offshore or when they get to Asia? So this was a really simple tool. I mean, this is very 101 level Tableau, but it's very powerful for our business in an operational sense. It gives your teams visibility to things that they just couldn't see before. So that was great. So this is honestly still our #1 most used dashboard because ordering is that important to us. It drives the whole business. So that's that guy. Another one we built for the store ops organization, and I'll just give you the disclaimer now, I was forced to sanitize all of this. Nobody wanted to create test data for me, so it's all sanitized instead of live. So you'll see a lot of stuff blocked out, so you can't see which areas of our business are doing well. But what this is, I'll tell you a little bit about it. So you've got your bars, your horizontal bars. That's your growth by demand center for whatever the time you're looking at is. This is chasing the omni-channel business. So what orders are being placed in our stores when we can't fulfill that demand on site, right? You come in, we don't have your size. But we're going to make sure that you can get your product in some fashion. So this is what are our stores generating? So we're comparing that to last year. So if you see the big blue bar, that's in our men's area. I can't tell you which demand center, but it's within men's. It's a big growth business for us over the prior year. The other one, so the trend line is colored by the penetration of that business. So how that relates to the total store overall sales for that day, right? So is demand generation 4% of their business? Is it 1% of their business? Is it 2% of their business? We typically target around 3. We don't want to do much more than that because, quite honestly, we want to have the right product in the right place to start with. We want to sell it to you when you're in the store. And then this dashboard also shows you the top departments on a volume basis and the top departments on a growth basis over prior year. Then, not best practice, but I just really wanted to use the bubble chart for the guys. That's all the different brands that we sell. So this is at a very high level. This is at total company. It's not been filtered for the lower levels. And then you'll see a bar across the bottom. That's where we started to see new and better questions being asked, right? So we introduced this, and they said, that's great, but what conditions are driving these orders, right? Is it because we didn't have the item in stock? Is it because we don't carry that item in that store at all? It's part of our extended assortment. Or is it just totally something they saw on our web portal while they're in the store? We have some kiosks in the store where you can buy things that aren't carried. We have a lot of very small stores throughout the Southeast that do not carry the full assortment. So we broke it down. We broke it into a bunch of buckets. And you can see that about 53% of the demand for the month that we pulled this was due to an out-of-stock condition, meaning we carry that item in that store. We just don't have it on the day you wanted to buy it. The next one, the orange bucket, we call it ISBO. It's in stock but ordered. It's the weird one. Our inventory system says we had this, but you still ordered it for some reason. It could mean it was defective, the one on the floor. Could mean it somewhere in the back room couldn't be found. It's really just our everything else bucket because we can't explain that condition. So the next one, the light blue, extended aisle. That means you wanted a color that we don't carry in that store. We carry the jacket, but we don't carry it in the fashion yellow that maybe you wanted. And then finally, the smallest bucket is the truly endless aisle, where we don't carry the product at all, but our sales associate helped you find the product through the web portal and helped you really reach out to that endless assortment. Okay, so this one was pretty cool. This is where we really started to work with the business and kick off the iterative process. We're very much SDLC development cycle. This was very helpful. We got to sit in our room and really go agile with the business on developing this. So, like I said, we're changing the culture a lot. This is another piece of that dashboard. It's just high-level view. A lot of the same things based on order type. So item locator versus e-com in the bottom left. So web portal versus things that we looked up in our item locator system to get from another store. So just a lot of quick ways to analyze their business is very powerful versus running 37 different reports. So this guy's my favorite. This guy is the most fundamental change. This is where we really saw people hit the wall with what they thought Tableau can do and what it can't do. So This guy, so our style selling, I mentioned Monday to you. Our merchant offices, they will wake up on a Monday morning and print grid reports all morning. The biggest one is the style selling. What it is, it's last week, every single one of your items, how it sold. It's 30 columns wide. We have some that print out and they are 40 pages long. I mean, it's fascinating. I remember being in the business and doing that on Monday mornings and thinking, there's got to be a better way. Luckily, there was. Didn't find out until too late. So what we did with this is I know from my time in the business that there are two things that matter on this 30-column wide report. It's your sales volume. So what did I sell the most of? And rate of sale. So what am I selling through the fastest? What am I turning through the fastest? So that screams scatter plot to me, right? I can put every single one of your items in one view and make the best sellers and the fastest movers really stand out. You cannot do that with 40 pages of paper that you're going down with a ruler all morning, highlighting what you think is the biggest driver until you find the next one. It's crazy. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to identify their 5 or 6 best sellers to highlight in a Monday meeting to help you with a little bit more of their process. So we had a lot of fun with this. It's still my favorite one to train because the first time people saw it, I hide all the images and stuff, and I just show them just a scatter plot with dots. How does this help me? This isn't good. And it's fun to watch the faces. So I'll kind of walk you through how we do it. So this is kind of what they see when we first start training this. And they're like, well, this doesn't help me. I need my grid. I have to export this so that I can actually scroll through and highlight. And it's just insane. So I'll give you a little more background. So your x-axis here is your sales volume, right? That's item one that's important. And your y-axis is your rate of sale. So how many units did we push through out of what we had in total? Okay. So we went back and had a little more fun with it later. We added the weeks in stock as color. So your freshest things, the things that just hit, are going to be your deepest blues. And then we went back and said, you know what would be another great indicator? We're going to size the bubbles by how much you have left, right? So your biggest investments are going to be your biggest dots. So in theory, a lot of your darker blue stuff is going to also be a reasonably large bubble because it's new. So we train this and we say, all right, so given the X and Y axis, what's my biggest seller? What's my best seller? Where do I look, right? Farthest to the right, Biggest volume. Well, what's my highest rate of sale? Where do I look? Highest on the chart. It's very simple. Everybody's been able to figure it out very quickly. It's really powerful. And they're like, okay, I think I can deal with this, but I still need to export my grid and make my highlights. So we threw them a bone. Where you can click on a mark and it'll populate the arrow down below. You'll see it in the next screenshot. But I'm just hovering over. We wrote some tooltips in more of a natural language to help explain what was going on with those items. So I'm focusing in on, actually I'm going to use the laser pointer. So this guy. So this bubble is well below the average sell-through and it's kind of lagging, but it's a big bubble, meaning we've got a lot of that item. We need to figure out why we're not selling through it very quickly. So if we look at this item, we sold 1% of it last week. 7% is good. 10% is great. 1% is terrible. So we sold 1% of that item for $29. It's been in stock 9 weeks. So there's no excuse. It's been on the floor long enough to be moving, right? It jumps out at you so quick. Like if you're looking for your big blue bubbles, it's right there. So your inventory glut. We have 33,000 of those things to sell. We got to get through this. So we had a lot of fun with that. You can click on the marks, and it'll call our e-commerce site and pull in the image, which is pretty fun. We got lucky on that one. Our e-com site has a very predictable search string for the image. So that worked out well. But it's one of those things that you're able to layer on here that you can't do with grid reporting, right? And from my time in the business, I did not know what my styles were. We have them for 4 to 6 months, and you have 1,000 of them. You don't know what every style number looks like, right? So this is very helpful with picking out your best sellers. You literally know which one to go pull from the rack. So that was really cool. And you'll notice down below when you've clicked on a mark, yeah, I threw them a bone and gave them their grid, but I made it this big so they're not going to use the whole report to just scroll through the grid. Said you can export it if you want, but you ain't looking at it on my dashboard. So we had a lot of fun with that. And you could also select multiple. You can just kind of lasso them, as we call it. But this has been the really transformative move for us is, all right, we built you a tool where you can really get into your style selling, right? You can update your sliders. You can update the rank. You can say, only show me things that have an inventory of. And they have really found this to be powerful. I mean, it's cut down the analysis process on a Monday morning from hours to a matter of minutes. And that's something we're very proud of with this. It's still pretty basic, but we're getting there. How am I doing on time? Doing good on time. Awesome. So a lot of fun with this. We've done some pretty neat things. The questions start to get better now, right? As people have more time to ask questions, they ask better questions. And that's the fun part. We get a lot more requests now. Hard to keep up with as an IT-centric shop. We've got to get our business users up to speed very fast. So here's some of our direct quotes from some users after we started rolling these out, just to show you that it's not just me who thinks it's helpful. Winners and losers, I like that term. It's very retail. And then another quote from another one of my planners. This is my ace user. This guy, working together with him, we are really going to do some cool stuff. He's learned Tableau Desktop at an absolute rapid pace. It's going to be awesome. So I should probably hide his name so you guys don't try to hire him. Should have thought about that. So I'll tell you a little bit about the lessons learned. So some places we hit some bumps. We did an absolutely terrible job of change management. So I mentioned earlier that we said we're going to replace our whole tool in a year. Well, our users had never heard of Tableau when that was decided for them. They had no voice in this process. So we communicated down to them the first time they were introduced to Tableau. We brought Tableau on site, and they did a big event in our atrium where they showed some demos. Well, one of the demos they showed is a really cool demo that they have, and it's like a helicopter's flight path. I don't know if any of your sales reps have ever showed you that particular demo, but it's their favorite go-to. So the problem being, my users have no idea what this tool is. That means nothing to them in retail. And so they spent the next 2 weeks talking in all the back rooms about how they were never going to see another number again. They were only going to see icons and pictures. And that's how they were going to have to do their reporting from now on. And we came really close to losing the group before we ever got started. And that's the danger, right? We thought it would translate. So I'm going to just be really honest about the mistakes we made. So we came back and we said, all right, we got to be really deliberate about what we communicate and how we communicate it. So I'm actually going to skip slides for a second. So what we came back with were some of these. So we went after some myth busters. We had our graphics team put some stuff together. We instituted a Tableau Tuesday where we would send out something new based on what we were hearing from the business, right? They were hearing, so are we going to get color printers was one of my favorite. No, you're going to analyze. Why? You don't get it. Visual reports aren't meant to be, I don't like that one. Said, you can, and the answer was, you can manipulate the visuals in the tool. You can drill through to next levels. You can really cut and slice and dice your business in so many different ways. So am I supposed to do my job with only core reports? No, we're giving you an ad hoc tool. It was a lot of fun to really put these together and get to go after the things that we were hearing kind of behind our back. So if you are going to start rolling out to your enterprise, handle the change better than we did. That one I can't stress enough. You know, you've got to put a very firm plan in place for how to manage the flow of information to your business users who aren't able to be part of the decision-making process. It's big. You've got to make sure that they get truthful, accurate information at a level that they can understand at whatever part of the business they're in. So I mentioned that we put in a task force. That was another piece of this. So some of the lessons we learned around user engagement is we needed to let our business analysts drive what content was being delivered. We made some overarching assumptions to begin with that we'll port these couple of reports and give you your starting point and call it a day. And obviously that wasn't going to be enough. So we started to encourage iterative and agile development as well, because we just weren't able to keep up with the pace of demand using the traditional model, right? A long requirement, scoping requirements, testing cycle just isn't great for a tool like Tableau, where you can iterate in seconds, right? And then we formed a BI user group to really let them make their voices heard, let them own the process, and empower them to make their own decisions. So training was a big piece of this as well. I've probably done 150 trainings in the past year, so a little tired of my own voice. But we train hard. We bring our analysts in monthly. We have open office hours. We bring them in monthly, let them come sit down, talk, ask the questions they have about how to use this tool that is new to them, and then we push them. We push them to try new things and just generally try to stay out of their way. They know their business better than IT knows their business, right? IT is, in our organization, IT is meant to be the supportive partner. We are transitioning that power to our business users with Tableau. Encourage continued learning and development. So we started essentially a center of excellence that pivots off of our BI user group. That's our open hours. You come, ask your questions. I'll help you with best practices. I'll help you with the things that you may not know how to do yet that I've had the opportunity to learn. And we'll go from there. But that gives everybody a sounding board and an opportunity to improve as an organization. And then we instituted the Tableau Tuesdays. So initially that was all around change management and myth busters and whatnot. It's since become about, well, here's a how-to. Here's a quick thing that you may not have thought of. Here's best practices on visualizing time. Here's when and where to use a line chart. Here's a reasonable number of slices you can use in a pie. That's always a fun one when people first get their first visual tool and you get a 75-slice pie chart. It's not helpful to anyone. And then change management, I just really want to drive that one home. We learned our lesson really hard on that one. You need to go after the myths, because in a business like ours with so many people separated across the building, rumors spread pretty quick, and at some point you can't get them back. At some point they become so deeply held that you just can't overcome them. I think did you guys go to the keynote yesterday? I think Shankar actually backs up that point, that even once people have heard the truth, they may not let go of the falsehood that they heard. It's great. There's some empirical evidence. So publicize new content. So the thing we wanted our users to take ownership of was owning the content. So when they do, we like to publicize it. We like to publicly recognize people who bring new questions and new ideas to the table, because we want to encourage that, right? That's the driving force. We put them out there in our Tableau Tuesday and we say, Jonathan came up with this awesome idea to look at inventory freshness and aging. We think you guys would benefit and we hope you'll give it a shot. Here's where to find it. Here's Jonathan, give him a call. That kind of stuff. So recognize the users who deliver the big wins and celebrate success. And then the last one would be to employ a cross-functional task force. That's been big for us. Like I said, if your development is being done by IT, somebody's going to have to prioritize. With Tableau in the enterprise, you're getting requests from everywhere. So you're going to have to make the VPs butt heads and make their own decisions. So those are some tips based on things we did poorly to start with. I hope that they'll be helpful for you. How many of you guys are trying to roll out Tableau in the enterprise versus small teams? Some of you guys? That's awesome. Glad I could help like 8 of you. That's great. So a lot of this is translatable as well if you're just going after a business function. You still have to make sure that everybody's on the same page and being communicated well too. So I'll jump back to these for a second if you want to look at those. We had a graphics intern who was bored. I will highlight a data viz mistake that I made. This was pre-conference last year. So you'll notice that within this tree map, there are 10 shades of red and green. Fun story, our old CEO and COO, both colorblind. So yeah, I came to conference last year for the first time. Went to Matt Francis's presentation on color. Matt's a guy that I've had the opportunity to meet and spend a lot of time with this year. And yeah, I went home and eliminated every single trace of that guy from the environment after I changed it to the colorblind palette. Like, there's not even a development version that has 10 shades of red and green anymore. It's all gone. It's like it never happened. So I noticed that when I was putting this together last week. So we've had a lot of fun with Tableau. It's been a very powerful tool. It has really fundamentally changed the way our business thinks about data. A lot of times if you ask your business what they want in a new report, they'll tell you exactly what they already have. It's like, I've got this Excel that's 30 columns wide. Build that in Tableau. Can you? Yeah. Should you? No. I mean, this will be recorded, so they'll hear it for the first time. I have told people in our business that you literally cannot go beyond 16 columns, which is kind of true. You can hack the XML. I built 57 columns for our COO the other week. He is the only person that I will do that for. Yeah, he's got a lot more control than a business user. So, yeah, so there's so much you can do. It's so customizable. You can make it fit your needs. You can really do some really neat things. We've had a lot of fun with it. We're really looking forward to the future. Like I said, we are very much in the early stages trying to push forward. Private equity acquisition has slowed our expansion plan a significant amount as we settle in to the new environment. But we have an intent to really deepen this business. We have our business users engaged more than they ever have been before. And that's so exciting to see. You see people who were very skeptical at the beginning really become owners of the process. So I hope that you guys will see that in your own organizations as you really go deeper with Tableau. We've had a great experience. I'll ask you to fill out the survey. The right answer is, of course, 5. So many people have made that joke. It's probably not even funny anymore at this point. We can use Olympic scoring. How about that? Yes. Selfie will be next. We'll do questions. So do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
Hey, what was your timeline again from your first 2 desktop licenses to the server rollout again?
Immediate. We kind of bought it all at once. We went really aggressive.
You did, like desktop and server?
Yeah, we bought 50 licenses and a 16-core server day one.
When was that again?
This would have been early 2015. Yeah, early 2015. And we started rolling more content out throughout late 2015, getting everything going. Yeah, it kind of caught fire. We, our SVP planning, the Garfield picture that I put in there, he was going to meet Under Armour in Baltimore for a presentation, showing him how we're going to grow our activewear business over 7 years. And he had been given this big grid report that he didn't like. And he said, Jeremy, build something in Tableau for me to take up there on the plane on my iPad. So we did, in a day. And they loved it. And Under Armour was patting him on the back saying, oh, we can't do that. We want to have visualizations like that. So that was really the accelerant to say, well, you're not just doing this POC anymore. It's going to everybody. You're replacing the old tool. So it happened really quickly. It does not happen like that most places. Most places you buy a couple desktop licenses, feel it out in a business area, and then realize you need to share with more people, so you go server. But we kind of did it all at once. Questions? Yeah.
Great presentation. Really like hearing other business stories. You mentioned that you're planning to kind of decentralize development out to the business. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe some of the key milestones for that roadmap, what that looks like?
Yeah, and I messed up the first time. I forgot to repeat the questions for the session recording. Yeah, his question is about what our timeline is for rolling it out more and decentralizing it, pushing it out to the analyst, the development process. Yeah, so we set in place a training plan that was about a 6-month endeavor. We really wanted to familiarize them with Tableau, encourage them. What we kind of did is we started bringing them to training. I didn't tell them how to publish directly to the production environment through desktop. I hold that information until they're ready. But our timeline was between 6 and 8 months to really get the business to take over the majority of content creation.
Yeah, and where are you now with that?
Month 3. Yeah, we're early. I've got 2 users who've published something to the production environment so far, and I've got about 8 or 10 more in the pipeline right now.
And are you doing the training?
Yes. Yes. I do all the development, all the training. Unfortunately, I have to manage server right now because we're missing a resource. I do not enjoy that, but I do it. So it's kind of a full plate. So that's really the length of the schedule is just availability. We would love to do it quicker. Yeah.
It sounds like you guys are doing a really good job transitioning the reporting functions. How are you handling kind of the iterative or ad hoc request aspect of the business?
Yeah, we are trying to push those to the business. So it kind of parallels to his question. I keep forgetting to repeat them. Managing the ad hoc functions of the business, how are we going about that? So we're trying to push those to we're trying to make the business own their new requests. Does that make sense? So we said, we're going to build you the bridge, and then we're going to let you own the process from there. So what we're doing is we're having them actively develop a lot of the new stuff with our assistants, right? So it's kind of the COE model where one of my business analysts is going to come in and say, well, I got this request. I need to build this. I don't know how to do these 5 things. Can you help me? So it's a slower development cycle for those guys as they get up to speed, but we felt like that's the way to go about it, is putting it in their hands and challenging them, trying to stay out of the way. We want them to drive the questions, and we want them to learn the tool. May not be the best way, but that's kind of how we're going about it. So we're letting them handle the new stuff.
Are you trying to enforce any type of governance or standardization across those dashboards as a decentralized model?
Yeah, so the question is, are we trying to enforce standardization, formatting, I'm sure? Yes, so we have a few hard and fast rules. We're trying not to be too rigid with it, but we also do want it to be translatable. I mean, something that I build needs to look roughly similar to something that my business builds, just so other users can understand it immediately. We've got some things around color, right? So if you use color, you're to use the colorblind palette. Blue is always good. Orange is always bad. We typically use Calibri font. We have some sizing and some layout standards, but everything is still reasonably flexible. We use simple viz types. We're not using Sankeys. We're not using a lot of crazy stuff. We're doing a lot of bars and lines and scatters. But it's not overly rigid, but there is some definite formalization. We have a checklist that we give to our guys with desktop licenses. Say, did you meet these criteria? If not, don't send it to me. So, yes? So how do I go about learning new things in Tableau? Where do we kind of bounce ideas off of each other? Yeah, so the online community is my number one. We had a consultant when we first started. Learned a lot from him. I was able to get up and get going. But I spend so much time in the online community. That's a great lead-in for this, by the way. I'm the user group leader for the retail virtual user group. So all of you should be members. Come to the forum. It's very helpful. A lot of cool stuff out there. We're going to start having meetings more frequently. And back to your question. Yeah, so I spend a lot of time in the community. Google's your best friend in the Tableau world. You've got so many people publishing so much content that you can really figure out how to do pretty much anything you're stuck on quickly. So if anybody doesn't know Google's your best friend already in the Tableau community, it is. It's your best friend. Other questions? Yeah. So do we still run the reports only on Monday morning or every day? So our data is updated daily, so they're fresh every day, and they are in our current environment as well. But most of the analysis happens on a Monday. Yeah, it's updated daily. We have a few intraday things, not a whole lot.
Can you take advantage of any of the forecasting features?
Not yet. Not yet. We're getting better questions. That'll be next. We do a little forecasting internally with our replenishment data. So we have a tool that does that for us. Yeah.
Since you had a lot of reports on Monday morning and then over Tableau, how did you get the users to edit Excel reports, whatever, and force them into Tableau?
No, we left them on. So the question was, how did we get users to transition from Excel and MicroStrategy to Tableau? We left both environments open, and we just kind of let the results speak for themselves. So the speed to analysis improved so much that we saw a pretty quick shift of users to the content that they now had available. Is everybody good? Questions? All right, I have to take my selfie. So you guys smile. You guys smile. I have to get the bow tie in it too. All right. So thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate it.